Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast. My name's Adam, and as always, I'm joined by Baker. Evening, mate. How are you?
Very well, mate. Very well. Very well. Saturday deadline, Thursday
Saturday
night.
deadline, Thursday night. Yeah, it's all pretty straightforward until game week 9, so we're pretty chilled at the moment. Looking to
Yeah.
bounce back is kind of where I am at the moment. Looking to bounce back. It's been a busy week, and I haven't been able to think about FPL, so I'm kind of cool. I'm kind of happy that I'm in a position where I'm comfortable with rolling my transfer. Haven't had any
Mm.
dramas over the
No dramas yet.
no dramas yet. Well, yeah, yet. I don't have any Arsenal players, so that's kind of cool.
There's still pressers. There's
No
still
Arsenal,
Saturday
no
leaks.
City. Plus, they're playing each other, and yeah,
Yeah,
the only issue I have, I guess, is Pedro at the moment. But we can talk about that. That's fine.
definitely that.
You know. But yeah, I'm looking good, I think. But I thought that last week.
How did you feel about Spurs last night?
Oh, mate, why? Mate, you didn't say you were going to ask about Tottenham yesterday. To be honest, I watched it because we were doing something with the patrons last night. I won't mention it because of all the stuff going on, but I was doing stuff with the patrons last night, so I had it on in the background, and I was just bored. Like the whole thing was just boring, just rubbish.
Boring.
And then it was, if anyone's seen those memes that are going around, which is like, this is what is it? Like, I'm really excited to see my team play. I want to kill myself. Oh, nice, we won. Like, that's kind of the timeline of every Tottenham fan. And my boss at work is a Coventry fan, so he sent me a message. He was like, do not mention the game last night. I said, to be honest, I'd wiped it from my memory. I was not even going to mention it.
Yeah. It's a problem. I tell you, if we hadn't turned that around going into that this weekend and then we lost this weekend, then it would have got real nasty. Is you can only have so many games of 70% possession. Like I say, it actually accelerates everything because it's quite boring when you've got 70% possession, but still actually look like a team that's going to concede. It's weird.
I think it's weird that we managed to we managed to recycle the ball in the most boring way, and we have done it for I feel like we've done it for 15 years, mate.
Yes.
Like, and it doesn't matter who we have in terms of personnel or management. It doesn't matter. It's just exactly the same thing. We've seen it so many times.
Yeah. But look,
if
you have that amount of possession every game, then the bookies will probably like you, as we're about to see. They do kind of like us this weekend. And at some point, especially if there was an early goal, it can click. We saw that in the Everton game. Albeit Brentford is probably a pretty stern test. Other than that, is everyone getting injured? Can I claim that I predicted everyone's going to get injured?
Yeah, what? Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can say.
Unfortunately, they're all mine.
Yeah. What do you say? Like, just hamstrings just go, or something
Hamstrings
like that?
just go. They just go. They vanish.
They just vanish.
Hop.
Yeah, it's happened to a lot. It's happened to a lot of your players. I'm seeing a lot of people, Luke, sending messages out or tweets out saying, "Pray for me."
Wow, I saw Isak. When I saw Luke's team earlier, and yeah, if you're feeling bad, go look at Luke's team because he makes my team. It's the only person I've seen where I'm like, oh, that's more issues than I've got. So far, let's see how the week plays out. But what do you make of the Isak stuff?
What did you say? It was like a toe injury or something, or just not training. I don't know. It's a bit weird.
I mean, we love conspiracies, and we'll probably get sued at some point one day. But my only thing, right, if I'm being skeptical, he got hit in the nose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you were thinking, oh, why did he go off at halftime? The word concussion might come out of your mouth. But the game was a 4:30 game on a Sunday, and the game on Saturday is a 3 o'clock game. Was less than six days. So it's like concussion would be
gone for the following week as well.
Yeah, it would be. But then it's like, oh, is it my eye? And now is it my toe? And I'm like, is Eddie just making stuff up here to try and get away from the fact that he probably was concussed? It's all very odd. And even that toe injury, which we've seen, it's probably worth noting. Craig Hope, who wrote the article, I think, in the Daily Mail today. Craig Hope's normally pretty good as a journo for Newcastle, but he was doing it from a paid subscription version of the Daily Mail and the only way that someone's going to sign up or do that payroll to have a look at it is, hey, guess what? If we're a little sensationalist.
Yeah.
Because I did see what was in that article. I didn't pay the Daily Mail, but I did see what was in that article. And the end of it says, well, Newcastle are hopeful he'll lead the line on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a toughie.
It is, and the thing is, we'll get nothing. We'll get nothing from Hal tomorrow either.
No.
You're just
did you also see Corf did the Photoshop of him with an eye patch on?
I did not.
Our friend Corf did a brilliant.
I now have to look at this.
Brilliant Photoshop of him with it on, despite the fact he's in the old Castore kit. So it's an old kit, right? It's not recent. And he sent me it before and was like, "Shall I tweet this?" I was like, "Yeah." Amazing. And then loads of people believed it. Loads of people have believed that he's wearing his eye patch.
So good.
And there's some amazing ones in there. Alexander, as in like the pirate Isak. I saw I think it was Turfy Topper said Alex, it should just be called Alexander Sack now because he's got no eye.
Mate, it's the facial expression, it's the teeth, it's everything. It's just perfection, isn't it?
It's so of course good. A good man. It's so a good man. But yes, he hasn't got an eye patch, just in case anyone does wonder that one.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
121,000 views on that. Incredible.
Brilliant. It's never going to stop.
I love it.
João Pedro. So
well, I feel
he wasn't in the squad.
He wasn't. Sorry.
He wasn't in the squad for the Carabao, was he?
No, Hersler said he was training, but he just needed a few days.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy that, again, the narrative also is that him not being in the squad. Oh, he wouldn't be in the squad. Pretty much every player that could be in the squad of every squad this week was in the squad. They just sit on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
They still go. They just sit on the bench. That's it. So, you know, if he could play, he still would have sat on the bench. Like he would have. But he wasn't ready to play. That's the obvious bit of it. What we don't know is a couple more days, does that make him ready to play? And then it's a question as well, the next of, obviously, Jorginho was cup tied, so he couldn't play at all. So his direct replacement is as fresh as a daisy. And he's not. Like it. I don't know on that. Like you, for example, you probably have a very good first sub, potentially. On it. But for you, I don't think it's something where you should be looking at doing something with it.
No.
But for those that are reliant on them and have a transfer in hand and don't have any issues and potentially a wild card or something, I think I'd consider it. I think I would consider making a move. On it. But
I mean, his last minutes were what? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Or a week ago? No, it was about a week ago, wasn't it, from today? Like the 11th. Is that when Brazil played? Because he played like 15 minutes or something like that. So he hasn't played in a week and they're not playing until Sunday. I mean, yes, I'm sitting here, as you say, with him and with decent enough bench.
He's likely to be a naught or start, isn't he? I don't suspect it's a cameo type space, but
I think we're too early to be saying he could be rested for Forest and then just so they have him for
I don't know if it's
Chelsea.
A question of rested. It's a question of whether.
Well, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like not rested. I mean, like given the additional time to recover from injury.
Yeah. But if he's not ready to start, you know, if he is only got 20, 30 minutes on him, then like we don't know. Because we didn't know why he wasn't playing in the first place. It was a complete shock that suddenly like, oh, he's not playing. So you don't.
It might be worth looking back at pressers from Hersler already, because he's one of those that we don't know very much about yet still. So maybe we should have a look back, and maybe one of the scout guys can have a look back and see how
you might get particularly lucky. He just says, yeah, and he's really important. He's going to start.
Exactly. You might get that.
But if he doesn't, as I said, you know, I've seen a lot of people that are wild carded in game week 6, and they have him, and they're like, oh, well, I want to roll this week so that I've got it. I don't know. I don't know when obviously Vardy and DCL are just sitting there with a good game against each other. Pick your poison, which one you want. And Nketiah's playing, almost certainly playing this week against Man United.
Yeah, and
at home.
scored in midweek as well. So he's that monkey's off his back. He can get on with scoring goals in the league now.
Yeah,
no problem.
And for people with money in the bank, obviously Solanke's got a really good game. All of those type of stuff. Like, I think if I had no issues and I was sitting on him and I didn't get any positive news, I would be tempted.
Okay.
Not for you, because
no. That's
why
fair.
would you?
Well, it's not just me and you talking here, is it?
Well, albeit
consider everyone else.
If you looked past this week, I guess the question is Calvert-Lewin or with some really, really good fixtures, or is Vardy?
Everton's fixtures are fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, so are Leicester's, in fairness, but
they're in and out. Leicester's, aren't they? There's some games where it's like I definitely wouldn't, and there's some games definitely would. But I kind of get it. In terms of chasing. If someone wanted to move off this week, this is the week to do it.
I mean, you could just go Chris Wood.
You could just
go back. Go back to Chris Wood. And we talked about those first three fixtures being so good. Brighton this week, which is probably fine, or it's okay. It's tough, but it's it's probably the toughest game they'll have in the next 5.
Yeah.
Chelsea aside, maybe Fulham and Palace and Leicester. Yeah, so it's good fixtures there.
Yeah. Should we call the fixtures up?
We can pull the fixtures up after we say hello to everyone in the chat. So hello to you guys. Hope you're having a nice Thursday evening. 140 of you now in. If you do enjoy what we do, make sure you drop a like on the video. If you're listening back on podcast, make sure you drop a little review, 5 stars, something like that. Most people listen on Spotify and Apple, so wherever you can, just drop a little rating. That'd be fantastic. And again, back on YouTube, if you're watching and you're not subscribed and you want to see more from us, then do that. So you would have seen the tweet earlier from the Football Content Awards. They're actually doing the final. They're actually doing the awards at Spurs. So we don't find out until Monday whether we're finalists. But if we do, then that'd be unbelievable.
At Spurs.
That
little thing behind you where we got the little bronze award last year.
That's the one.
Hoping just for a nomination. There's less. It's going to be harder this year because I think there's just the 2 categories. Best in fantasy football. Yeah, and one of them is about being an organisation, and we're not an organisation. Best creator,
best organisation. So
yeah, so we have one award we can go for, as opposed to last year we got podcast, not YouTube, as it were.
Yeah, exactly, as it were. Yeah. So yes. Look out for that on Monday. We'll be looking out for that on Monday. And sub, do all that good stuff. And we'll be grateful.
Yeah, if anyone wants to just tweet them and say, please make sure you put us through, then
yeah, just do that.
Because now we know that Tottenham is even more so. We want to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, thanks to Crypto Block Dan for supporting the pod as always, and thanks to the guys over who support us on Patreon. And if you want to join us on the Discord, I believe you can do it now through YouTube as a member. So if you want to join us as a YouTube member, there's 2 levels of YouTube membership. If you join the higher one, that's like the equivalent of the Patreon. So it's if you join that one, then you can join us in the Discord where we have lots of fun, games, chat, and all that sort of stuff.
Wonderful.
And
Michael Murphy says he's only here for the prizes. You gave away a prize earlier?
I gave away a prize, and FPL Don is in the chat as well. So shout out to FPL Don, who wins a tumbler and a mug. Somebody else won a mug last week, which I haven't sent out yet, so apologies for that. But it's been a bit of a mad one at work, so I will get that sorted. And for you, Don, I'll send that. Probably go out next week once I've got all this work stuff sorted. But
marvelous.
Yeah, we're always giving stuff away as well. So come and join us on the stream, watch back the videos, listen out. Share the stuff we send on socials and stuff like that. Just get involved, and we'll just send you free stuff basically. Pretty much. Occasionally I'll do UK only just because of stamps, but most of the stuff's we'll just deliver it worldwide, whatever.
We blackmail is what you're saying. Is we blackmail people for prizes.
Yes, we will bribe you for votes.
That's how we work
if we get there. So let's move on to fixtures. And again, for anyone that's new joining us, we look at the graphics here from Rob T. These are this is the market data that comes from SpreadX that tells us how many goals are expected to be scored by a team and the percentage chance of a clean sheet. Being expected goals, it's in a decimal format, so please don't expect Liverpool to score 2.7 goals on Saturday. Yeah, and then it's done as on a match-up basis, so you can see basically how the markets predict the match going.
Yeah. And for us, like every week, we'll concentrate on the teams that are predicted to score over 2 goals. And this week, we have Liverpool comfortably at 2.7, Tottenham at 2.3, and Villa at 2.1. And then when you're looking at the defense, I mean, it wasn't the greatest week for defensive predictions last week. We could saw goals, and it kind of played out that way. You know, is only really Arsenal defenders got any defensive points? Not many to shout about for many others, unless you had the maybe Ipswich or a Brighton guy. This week, Liverpool at 40% chance of a clean, and then you start moving into Villa 34, Brighton 34, Tottenham 31, City still 34% at home to Man City against Arsenal. That's really interesting because I kind of assumed everyone with Rico Lewis would just bench Rico Lewis, for example. But it'd be very difficult, I imagine, to get any kind of indication of whether he starts or not. But people with like Vardy, what are you doing with him this week? Probably starting, I guess, is the question. Is the thing? If you got Vardy, you got to start him, I think.
Yeah, we need to see whether Pep's going to play. Yeah, with Vardy, certainly.
But with Vardy, certainly.
It's going to be Rico. It's going to be about whether we're going to get a leak as whether he starts. Although saying that, I don't think Vardy. This is not a week where Vardy gets rested, right?
No.
For sure, like last week. So it is basically Walker or Lewis, and obviously Lewis played in the week against Inter, right?
Yeah. You'd have to assume that this is a Walker game. It just feels like everything about it feels like a Walker game, doesn't it?
I mean, Arsenal still got
up against Martinelli. Like
Rice
that's
is
their
back.
one thing.
Rice is back, but obviously Odegaard's still out. So yeah, is it going to be Martinelli or is it going to be Trossard? I mean that's
both probably, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess
you play Trossard in the middle, wouldn't you? For Odegaard, I imagine. I can't.
Well, it depends. Are you going to? They're going to play. They're going to play 2 6s again. Surely they play.
Are they going to play 3 6s? Do they play Rice as like almost the 8, and then Partey and Jorginho? Because you've got to play 3 in the middle.
Yeah, but then you can't play Trossard because you play.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but then you don't play. You don't play Trossard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You either stink it up with 3 6s, or you play Trossard.
Yeah, okay. So you just assume Martinelli left rather than Trossard left and Saka right and Havertz up top, or
you wouldn't play Trossard with 3 6s. Didn't he? You know, the only reason you play 3 6s is then to have some width, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Alongside it, yeah. So, I just think Martinelli is almost guaranteed to play the left wing because of the fact of, maybe they start it with 3 6s and then bring Trossard. And then you've got Trossard option, haven't you?
Yeah.
You either bring him on just for Martinelli in the 60th minute, like they like to do all the time, or you bring him on for Jorginho, probably. Yeah, that's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, if you're obviously the question is really like is on captaincy more than anything. Is like Haaland. Like, how would you feel looking at Haaland here versus like Salah in?
Oh,
that's the big one, right?
Yeah, it's not really a question, is it? It's not really. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Like, would I be surprised if Haaland braced? No, because you're not surprised if the person who plays for the best team, one of the best teams in the world, braces in any game, and he's the best striker in the world. So you're never going to be surprised about it, but you've got to play the odds on this and look at it and say, it's more, isn't it? What would you do if what would you personally do? You haven't got Haaland, but if you had a leak that said that Mo wasn't starting on Saturday? Where would
Uh,
you go then?
I'd probably cap Trent. Like I'd probably cap. I wouldn't feel great about it, but I'd probably cap Trent. I'm trying to think.
Mm.
You're now asking me who's in my team, basically, and
Where's your vice going to sit? Trent.
Trent, maybe Solanke.
Yeah.
Maybe Solanke, to be honest.
Palmer at West Ham.
Palmer away at West Ham. Last week was a bit iffy, wasn't it? So I don't know.
I mean, me is with Haaland.
Yeah, it's got to be Solanke.
Yeah, I probably would list it. I'm probably still going to leave my advice on Haaland, but we assume that.
If you've got both, if you've got both,
Yeah.
it's cap Salah, vice Haaland, and move on.
But we'll get the info Saturday morning. I think the good thing for Liverpool is that they've obviously got Carabao next week against West Ham. Not an easy fixture at all for them. You know, West Ham will be definitely, it's for most teams now, it's the Carabao's like the best, sort of like the best, but also quite a competitive way to get a trophy, isn't it? We've seen teams. We made quite a few changes, but it's still a relatively good team. We've seen teams like Palace this week go in with almost a full strength team. I expect West Ham to put out a really good team.
It's such a weird one, that League Cup, because everyone talks about obviously the FA Cup being the one, because every single team in the country can access it, and at the same time, you enter at the same time as all of the other Premier League teams. So, yeah. But you've got a pool of teams at that point where you could pull out a Nuneaton Borough, right, or a like Lewis or a Folkestone Invicta. Or something like that.
It's hard to win the Carabao. That's why all the good teams win it.
Well, it's because it's the League Cup. It's played out by the best teams in the flipping country. Like it's not.
It's a complete ruse. Everyone thinks
Chesterfield's
it's like
getting to the semi-final and stuff like that. Like that doesn't exist. Yeah. Well, it could exist, but it doesn't exist.
But you would expect for Liverpool, the sensible thing is they put the main team that have been playing out on Saturday. They bring in the people like Gakpo and Darwin for the West Ham game, and then you go back again on the league.
They got plenty though. Like you could build that. You could build that
Kwanzaa,
team.
Bradley, Simicast. I mean, all those guys.
Yeah, they're all there.
The question, obviously, we don't know with Slot. What he could do is he could mix and match, couldn't he? So he could make a couple of changes this week so that he plays a couple of his main guys in midweek, and we just don't know until you know. Like we'd have no idea this weekend. We have no idea how those managers that manage in Europe will rotate their squads going into the weekend.
At the same time, City have won 4 in a row, and Liverpool lost last weekend. Like I don't. Yeah. It's not a week where you can.
I don't think Liverpool
let a team let a few players go. Nah, and just say all the rest, boys.
If there's one player that you're worried about for Liverpool, it's the player that I've got, Diogo Jota. Like he is a worry, but he's probably also only ever 60-30 anyway.
Yeah.
That's all we ever say. So for me with Jota, I don't see that I will be taking Jota out. Even if we got a leak that he wasn't starting, I'd probably just let it happen. And hope that, the 30 minutes. A goal can do so much, can't it? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like goal scorers are now most of them are getting like 1 or 2 bonus just from getting a goal. So it could still easily score an 8-9 pointer. He can also score a 1 pointer. That's the way it goes. But if I was to hit him to someone, then that player's got to immediately get a return, haven't they? It's quite tough.
Yeah, definitely doesn't feel like it's worth it. Like because you're wild carding next week, almost certainly.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be taking out players that play this week.
No, I definitely will be playing. I definitely will play more cards out.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
soon as I
exactly.
get the
As
chance
soon as
on
you get a
Saturday,
chance.
I'm definitely
So
playing it.
you're not taking any players out that play this week. If you're going to make a punt at all, you take out a player that's not going to play.
Yeah. If
Other
I'm not
than
going to play
yeah,
completely, or it has low upside. So Muniz, for example, we don't know if he plays or not, but you'd expect the fact that he played the Carabao in midweek
yeah, that he wouldn't start
that
this weekend.
he wouldn't start this weekend.
Yeah,
You expect that. And it's not a great week for him, even if he did.
yeah. So
Because even if
Fulham,
he did start, he's now what, a 60, 70-minute player on a 1.4 expected goals. So he's a relatively easy enough move. My only thing on Jota where I'd be like, well, maybe I could take a hit would be if I shifted down on him, but enabled me to get Solanke,
okay,
because 2.3 expected goals is a lot. Or it meant even as far as, can I get Watkins? For some people they might have some money in the bank and it might be enough to do it.
yeah.
If I was to take a cheap mid punt this week, well, I'll ask you the question before I tell you who I like. Any cheap mid punts that would stand out for you that you like?
So I mean, Minter potentially. I mean, who do you have in your team? You have Rogers already, right?
I've got Rodgers.
Ahmad, maybe.
I think Ahmad's not a bad shout. And Ahmad is how low I would have to go. Literally, Ahmad gives me exact money to get to Watkins. That's like
Yeah,
as low as I could go.
I don't think there's anyone cheaper than that
Nah.
that you'd want to go to.
If I was going a little bit more, I am quite tempted with Kulusevski at 6.3.
Interesting. I mean,
But it
he
would be
has
like,
to start after
he's our
yesterday.
best player.
Yeah,
He's our best
exactly.
player. Like literally, he's the only goodie there. You've got, obviously, you've got Dwight
I mean,
McNeil.
just say, oh, you just go Dwight McNeil. Yeah, of course.
Got Dwight
Just
McNeil,
go
but
Dwight
he's not
McNeil.
enough. He's not enough for me to get to uh and all these players, you're like, right, taking a hit on these rather than necessarily Jota 30 minutes. It's a bit icky.
Well, there's the reason they're priced the way they are.
Yeah. But yeah, if I wanted to fully lean in Spurs bias and just say, right, Tottenham, it's on you how my weekend goes.
Mate, we do that every weekend anyway.
I could -4 Jota and Muniz to Solanke and Kulusevski.
Oh, that's giving me a headache already.
It's the most horrific thing I've ever thought of in my entire life.
Oh man, that is so bad.
It is bad.
Someone saying Hutchinson, someone saying Dibbling. I mean, like, let's not, like, Southampton playing Ipswich. I don't care. I care so little about this game from a pick perspective. I really don't. They're both bad teams. They're both bad underlying numbers. That said, Ipswich have had the two toughest games. But
yeah, we've got quite a number of games here where it's relatively tight. Looks like a 2-1 in one way or another, and we're not really sure. Fulham Newcastle looks like a 2-1. Leicester Villa looks like a 2-1. Even Villa Wolves potentially is a 2-1. Maybe that could be a 2-0 or a 3-1 type space. Southampton, Ipswich, either way. Palace, Man United, either way. Even Man City, Arsenal could be a 2-1.
Yeah.
It does look like the common, if you're doing Super Six, 2-1s all over the place. Look like the ways this weekend, apart from Liverpool. So you've got to push with that, I think. And Salah just feels obvious to me. And whoever you've got a plan. I do think there's going to be some rotation. I am worried about. I'm worried about Jota. Obviously, I'm worried about Rodgers. I think he played 90 minutes again. When everybody else is coming off, he played another 90 minutes. He's playing 90 minutes all the time. He's a young guy. we've seen it so often. A young guy just suddenly be like, "Oh, I just played Duran this week alongside him." Like we shouldn't think it just doesn't happen. All I see on Twitter is everyone being like, "Is this the week he's going to return?" And I'm like, I hope so. I really hope so. But also, he just might not start. Um, Same on, Minte. You mentioned it earlier, but Dingle just keeps scoring.
Mm.
Like he played 82 minutes, Minte, in the Carabao. Now Dingle played 90, so that should mean that he's okay for it. But those minutes are getting shakier for some of these guys. If Rodgers continues to not return and Duran does, at some point they go, why don't we just start Duran and then bring Rodgers on?
I don't think it's a problem with what he's creating though. Like everything looks good when he's on the pitch.
It
That's a
does,
that's a
but
that's a positive thing. And the fact that, you know, chances aren't being converted isn't always his issue.
no. But
So
he isn't scoring, and he
no, it
is
depends on
very
his job.
often. Yeah, but well, he's often there as the second receiver. That's what we've talked about it repeatedly. That he's often, or it would get to him, but it doesn't get to him because Watkins just gets in the way of the ball type stuff. Like he is effectively a second striker. Like he's not an out and out sit on the wing, beat your man winger. That's not what he is. He is in and amongst it. You could quite easily just play Duran and Watkins any week. Like at some point it can happen. Bailey's sort of back. Ramsey can play out wide. Like it,
I mean,
it could.
it does. You're right. It does have to happen that Duran needs to get a start. I don't think it's not almost not fair for him to
It's
have
not, is it?
to have, you know, done what he's done in the minutes that he's had. He must be just turning around to like, Unai, come on, gaffer.
It's
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 my
so much
turn.
more it's so much more painful to us that Rodgers wouldn't start than it would be to Rodgers or his teammates. Like
Yeah.
they'd be absolutely fine with it. Yeah, fine. I played 90 minutes in midweek. I'll just sit on the bench this week. I'm still very much in the game. It's everyone's really happy with me. I'm a kid. But yeah, other than that, it's a tough one. I think there's very few players that I'd want to move heaven and earth for this week. I think up front, Solanke and Watkins are the clear boys that you've got to be trying to get in. If you had to pick one of DCL or Vardy this week, where would you be?
For 1 week,
1 week.
for 1 week, I would pick DCL.
Oof.
I would pick DCL.
Interesting.
I think Everton have been good. I mean, look, they're defensively they've been a nightmare. They've scored 4 goals in the last 2 games. It's not really an issue from a goal scoring point of view. Calvert-Lewin's getting into positions which are good, and he is missing chances, but he is scoring chances as well.
Yeah, that is the one thing in it. Vardy did score last week, but it was his only shot of the game.
Yeah.
I've gone back and forth on this because in my best case situation this week, I simply move Muniz to one of DCL or Vardy. That's my best case situation. Unless I would have to a real big decision to make. So if somehow he is Salah said, yeah, no, Pedro starting, then that changes everything. But the idea that he would just come out and say that he definitely is starting is very, very difficult.
Yeah. Let's move to our teams. Let's move to our teams because I think we've covered pretty much everyone there.
Yeah.
And as we do that, Atalanta have missed a penalty. Perfect. That's just what we wanted to hear. Let's start with you, mate.
Yes. Here's the pain. So yes, if people haven't seen or heard or listened to the fact that I got pain this week, I have the lovely Henderson in goal against his old club, Man United. Maybe he'll take that as a little extra incentive to do okay. Then I've got Porro, Anthony Robinson, and Gabriel. Yeah, my other defenders other than Gabriel are Lewis Hall, who I just can't see him playing Lewis Hall up against Adama. Can you? You'd play Lloyd Kelly against Adama, wouldn't you? Away from home.
I wouldn't be confident. I wouldn't be confident playing Lloyd Kelly against Adama.
Would you be more confident on playing Lewis Hall against him?
It's probably as bad as each other. It's probably as bad as each other, to be honest. It's not exactly, unless you're. Have they got any other fit centre backs? No, because you wouldn't even want to play Dan Burn against him, would you?
Either way, I'd still pack. I'm still going to go Gabriel over Lewis Hall or Ben Johnson.
Yeah. No, that's what it is. Fine.
So it's bad. No Trent already straight away. Ugh. No Robbo. Ugh.
They were good last week, mate. They were good last week. So
yeah. Gordon, and again, like if Isak is out, the last thing I want is Gordon playing false nine again. That was just horrible. So I'd like to hope they play Osula, and then Gordon can be more of the main man around it. But yeah, Gordon's potentially not good. And Gordon obviously is up against Anthony Robinson, who I'm playing. Can't really win. Then I've got Rodgers, I've got Jota, I've got Salah, I've got Muniz, I've got Isak, I've got Haaland. I guess, look, for me, looking at this is the reason I didn't start with Salah was I probably didn't have enough robust picks around it to run a Salah and Haaland team. And that's exactly what I'm seeing here is the second I've brought him in, I'm like, God, everything else is really, really, really unstable. That is the problem of running those teams, is the edges look so painful. Like if someone's on wildcard next week and you want to run the Salah and Haaland and continue to run it, just look at the other players that are in my team today and have that in your mind. Like nailedness is so important when you've got those type of players. Yeah, Muniz has got to go. Isak might have to go. It's
a tough week, mate. It's a tough week.
Yeah, but you just have to hope, don't you? It worked. I had an appalling looking team last week and got away with it. Realistically, Haaland and Mo do lots of stuff. You just need a couple of goals, don't you?
Yeah.
A Porro banger, a Gordon Hall, and it'll be okay. Nothing. It could be bad. And if it is bad, if I lose, so we'll have a look at this a sec. So I'm expected to get 52 points this week.
I'm so glad. I tell you what, I'm so glad that you went to that expected points number just then, because about 2 minutes ago I realised that captain was on Haaland, and I've just literally changed the image because it was on 49. It was on 49. I was like, that is mad, because I know mine's like way above that. But anyway, a lot of this is probably because you've got a lot of players playing against each other here. You've got Haaland against Gabriel. You've got Gordon against and Isak against Robinson. That's the kind of hedging I hate, mate.
I ain't got no choice, mate.
Well, I know you don't, but I'm just saying.
I ain't got no choice.
That's why.
But you can never protect hedging for so long, can you? You can protect it for 2 or 3 weeks. You can't protect it in week 5. Do you know what I mean? Is by that time it's long gone. So yeah, there's a couple of questions in the chat before we move to yours about like wild card this week and what would you do if you were the wild card. I think Dan said he was on wild card. Bozzy mentioned it, and all of that stuff is similar. One of the things, the original things I've said there is I don't like the Mo and Haaland drafts. I still don't like it. And I don't feel like and as soon as you come out of this week, I'm so much heavier leaning Haaland than Mo. And therefore I can't see that I'd want to make that huge decision for when actually those two guys are so good that they can cover any week. We've seen it. So yes, would I expect to get somewhere between 10 to 20 more points this week if I wildcarded? Yes. Because I would have a very similar team probably to what Adam's about to show. But I also only have one free transfer, which I will use this week. So I'll still have one trade transfer. So I'd just be in such an unstable position if I wildcarded. I'm better to lose 20 points to the crowd this week than I am to wildcard.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm patching, and I'm still patching next week. I'm still patching next week, and I'm never getting to that position. Whereas
there's lots between 6 and 12. There's a lot of shifts. There's some big shifts going around. So I feel like you need to, and game week 5 is not one of those shifts, right? That's the thing. And because it's not one of those, if you use a chip like this in this particular week, then it's going to be hard to maneuver the change in game week 6 for Arsenal, then in game week 7 for City, and then coming out of Arsenal in game week 9. Like, that's the stuff that's the stuff that is difficult to do if you don't have either a chip or transfers.
Yeah.
So you're going to do it in 6.
Had 2 transfers in the bank, I'd think about it. I definitely would think about it. I'd probably just still use those transfers, if I'm honest. But having 1, it's like you're just saying I'm going to be, but I'm right up against it this week, and I'm still going to be up against it going forward.
Yeah.
I've got to try and get some foundation. As I said, if I take a million rank drop this week, then I'll take a million rank drop this week. It's fine.
Yeah.
You?
Me. So I'm, just touch on the expected points there. Yeah, I was looking, mine's up at 60.3. So my plan here is to roll, assuming that we get, no further information that makes this worse. But I've got Martinez in goal. Now home fixture against Wolves. Yeah, he's very likely to concede because that's what Martinez does. But he's probably better than
but
Johnson.
He's got a 34% chance, which is better than all bar one keeper this weekend.
Exactly. Double Liverpool defence, Robertson, Trent.
Which is the best 2 chances of lanes.
And then Pedro Porro, who also has over a 30% chance.
It's free hit team, this.
And then midfield, Bruno, Salah, Cap, Rogers, Eze, and Cole Palmer. And then Solanke, and then João Pedro up front. I say I've got Nketiah on the bench. No drama if I want to bring him in. I've got Leif Davis on the bench. No real drama if I want to bring him in. Lewis, I probably just wouldn't. The only thing...
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's tough because, as we say, I think if Arsenal stink it up, right, and they're be playing for this 0-0, like Lewis is a really good pick. Lewis is a really good pick this week because you're going to get the option. You're going to get good chance of a clean sheet. Plus, he finds pockets, right? He's the kind of player that wants to get into pockets, and if he's doing little dances with Phil Foden in the middle there as they're trying to get around the Arsenal defence, he could be in and around that intricate passing that ends up in a created chance or ends up in a shot. So I don't think he's as bad a pick as long as we get the information that he starts. And then and that's basically my team. I want to have 4 transfers going into next week. I want to be able to shift over to a couple of Arsenal players minimum.
I mean, it would be insane. I think even if they said Pedro's out until after the next international break, I still don't think I'd make a transfer now. But more look at that, you're like,
nah.
God, I would bite your arm off for any of those 3 on your bench this week.
Yeah, but I've wildcarded, so it's fine. I've had to make this plan because I've wildcarded, and so I'm set.
It's such a strong, like I mean,
this team, by the way, 23 points last week. 23.
Yeah, well, that's like I say, everybody's team was 23 points if they didn't have 1 or 2 players last week.
Yeah,
everybody's team was that. It's just how so it happens. One of them, a lot of people kept in. It's in a very robust position for the next few weeks. And I was trying to get my head around it earlier. The idea that from next week, so you'll have 4 transfers next week.
Mm-hmm.
So you could make...
I could make 5 transfers. I could make 5 transfers for a -4.
but that's in my opinion, right? That's the stupid stuff. Like where we need to change our brain is I think everyone said, if I've got 3 transfers, I used to make that mini wildcard. Well, I can make a mini wildcard. Well, that's just showing your hand. That's just going all in. Like, I don't get it, right? What you could do is do 2 free transfers next
Yep.
week
And then pick up
and
another one.
and then pick up another one.
And then do
And
another
then you
two.
could do 2 free transfers the week after.
Yeah, you could just
And
do
then,
two and roll,
and
two
that,
and roll,
and
two
you
and
could
roll.
do it for like, you'll be able to do it for 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Like, that is such an unbelievable thing. So, like I say, everyone's like to be straight into their brain of like, oh, what I could do is like make 4 or 5 transfers and be like, yeah, that's not as strong as doing 2 transfers every week for 3 or 4 weeks. And where you don't need to do them, don't do them. Because the likelihood is every time you make 2 transfers, you probably don't need to make a transfer the week after.
Yeah.
Like, once you're there in that holy grail territory, like, I don't know that I'll ever make it there.
Yeah.
Because I've never made it there before. So what's to say that I'll ever make it?
But yeah,
Exactly.
uncharted territory.
This could just be where people that get to 4 just surf the wave to 38. And I think, is I think the worst thing that people could do is use 3 or 4 in a week once they've got them. Because if you use 3 or 4 in a week and you add a week where you had 2 injuries or suddenly just the game changed, you're like, oh, okay.
The beauty is that we're planning moves to an extent, but at the same time, major things can happen. Like, if this was a week where I get 3 injuries, for example, I can navigate that, and I can move around that quite easily. And I think as long as like crazy weeks like this don't happen, which I mean, like, invariably they will, because we're going to get more games coming up. Although, listening to some of the people talk about how teams are going to navigate these Europa, like Champions League, like, this is something really interesting that I heard. So, City, let's say City, you have to finish in the top 8, right, to avoid that playoff, which is 2 games.
Yeah.
But if you finish 17th or 16th or 17th, you do qualify, but you have to play 2 extra games. So what does it require to finish in that top 8? It probably requires you to be top-notch for 7 games. If you only have to be top-notch for three games, and then gets you into 17th, and you play 2 extra games where you can be top-notch, that's 5 games instead of 7.
Yeah.
So we still don't know. So don't think that clubs are not very aware of what they can and cannot do and what they may or may not need to do. We might see rotation in all of the games where City have lower opponents. And then by the end of it, and then by the end of it,
enough.
Yeah. And then by the end of it, they might they'll just get through it in 15th, 16th or something. They'll get Sparta, whoever, in the playoffs and go, well, we can still roll out Haaland for 60 minutes here and it's fine. They may just be able to cruise they may just be able to cruise that. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to do that. So
yeah, and you might see a lot of halftime subs and all sorts of stuff as well. Any do say,
all sorts of
45 minutes, take them off. Yeah, the Champions League, we don't know the impact of that this season. The having up to 5 transfers, we don't know the impact of that this season.
True.
But what I would say is, I said, once people have got there, like, the people that haven't might never get there.
Yeah,
they might never get there. And I know, there's an analytic model. Friend JC was saying about, the 4th and 5th transfer aren't as valuable as though they're not. So saving and saving and saving for the sake of saving isn't. But if you do happen to stumble to get there, it's such a strong position.
Yeah.
That's gonna have to be the big old benefit of doing it. So the only thing, obviously, you've got to look at, you've got Arsenal to work out. City. You've got Haaland to work out.
Yeah, Haaland. Yeah. Say City, Haaland to work out.
Yeah, I mean, all the others, you will want the others, but it's like, well, which are the ones we want? Like, if Odegaard is, like, it sounds like, out for these 2 plum fixtures, it's like, do you need it as much?
Yeah.
It's not like Trent and Robbo next week away at Wolves is a terrible fixture, is it?
No.
Maybe we just get the ones that we Definitely. Well, and that should be our motto most of the time anyway, is you don't have to just get the numbers from someone, get the right players.
Yeah. I've definitely got to make a sacrifices to get Haaland in. That's obviously for sure. But whether I can wait a week as well and then get that, that game week 7 fixture to Liverpool, which is, even Palace away. It's not like Salah's ever had a bad history at Selhurst Park, is it? Even if he starts on the bench. So
yeah, I mean that game he started on the bench. Was that 17 points?
16 points.
16 points.
25 minutes.
Yeah, that was mad.
Madness. But that's where we are. That's where we are for game week 5. Greyhead, if you're watching, that's my team locked in. So just get that in there. We did well on the plan to go for half an hour. It's currently been 52 minutes.
That's as good as it gets for us. Less than an hour. Let's get out of here. Thanks very much. See you all.
Remember, if you do enjoy the content from us, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more from us, hit subscribe. And good luck for game week 5. See you guys later.
See you later.